Hi, I'm Brittany Pacheco.
Hi, I'm Marcy Gonzalez.
And we are the two Watchers in the Basement today. Welcome to our channel. We appreciate y'all taking time out of your day to be here with us. We are wrapping up season 4, part 1 of Netflix hit series You. This has been so much fun talking about You because we've never talked about it before on here on the Watchers in the Basement. So I love the fact that we finally got to talk about it. And of course, Marcy, it's been great getting your perspective and having you join.
Awesome. Thanks.
I mean, this show is great, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I love it.
We're here for it. So for today's episode, we're going to be wrapping up, as I said, part 1, episodes 4 and 5, which pretty much go hand in hand. So it's kind of fitting that we're wrapping those 2 episodes today. So to jump right into it, Marcy, episode 4, we're going to discuss first, entitled Hampsie, which I think is just a funny name. What were your overall thoughts on this episode?
It was a fun episode for me. Like I said last time, halfway through 3, I was like, okay, like I'm finally getting into the season because the first couple episodes weren't really doing it for me. So that just made it really fun. It kind of has like a Knives Out vibe, playing more into the murder mystery, and then just bringing up ways to just kind of derail some of the theories that I had going on before. And then like putting in other little things where I was like, oh, maybe it's this. So it like popped up a whole bunch of new theories for me. So I really enjoyed both 4 and 5.
I will definitely agree with you on that. I think these last 2 episodes are probably my favorite just because there's so much to unpack in the terms for Joe trying to figure out, okay, who's this killer and is this killer amongst the group of people that vacation at Hampsie for the weekend. And so but what these episodes have done, I think, extremely well is making you second guess yourself. Like you said, you had theories, I had theories. I feel like after episode 1, I was pretty convinced I knew who the killer was. It was one of 2 people for sure.
Yeah.
And as these episodes progressed, I was like, I'm leaning more towards one over the other.
Yeah.
And of course, with this episode, but more so the 5th episode, you know, it's solidified. I'm like, yep, yeah. So, but that's not to say that I wasn't sitting there thinking, well, maybe it could be someone that I hadn't considered before. But that's what I think this show has done very well because of the plot twist. And Joe's the one being hunted this season. And you're really having to think, like, who the hell could it be?
Yeah.
And more importantly, why? Right. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this episode. We last left off with Joe at a sundry house with the gang, -1. And he is being approached by the 2 officers that approached him the first time about Malcolm's death. And they're like, can we have a moment of your time? And he's like, you know, polite and channeling his inner Brit, you know, for anything to do to help. And I thought to myself, well, what the hell could they possibly want at this moment? Like, what did you think?
Same. I was like, okay, what have they found? Are they kind of leaning towards, do they kind of know who the killer is? So obviously, like, he was able to bullshit his way out of that one, like he always does. But on this last rewatch, I thought, maybe the cops do kind of know like something, or they're just trying to see what more they can get out of him, because we see that sometimes in like police procedurals and cop shows where they'll be like, well, we have an idea of what it is, but we're going to talk to this other person who we think might be involved, and just like not even let on that we think they might be involved or they might be the culprit. We just want to see like how they incriminate themselves by whatever they share. So on the last rewatch, I said, maybe like that is something that's going on, because we've said like the cops just seem like very trusting of whatever everybody has been telling them. So maybe they are a little bit skeptical and they're not wanting to show that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point to make about that tactic of,
Mm.
well, let's see what more info we can get out of him. Maybe he'll self-incriminate and
Right.
what have you, but it ends up not actually being that for him, through the grace of a higher power for Joe.
Mhm.
His tip about Blue
Yep.
to be very helpful, and the cops said, "Hey, like, because of this, maybe you know more information, or maybe you can give us
Right.
another tip." And it's like, is he really doing your job? Like, are you
Right.
kidding me right now? But one thing I thought was funny, the cops said to Joe, it's like, "Oh, it's very refreshing to talk to someone who's moderate, sober," because everyone
Right.
else there was just so loaded and
Washed. Yeah.
he's so sloshed. I thought that was just a funny remark that the cops made. But Joe is able to get out of this whole very short interaction with the
Mhm.
authorities, and Phoebe approaches him and says, "Hampsie." And of course, his narration, I absolutely love narration from him, of
Yeah.
course. He's like, "Oh, the Lady Phoebe's, what is it, vacation home or country house or something like that."
Yeah.
And so she's inviting him to the villa along with everyone else. And he's got to prepare, obviously, because he had that last text from the, pardon me, the stalker about meeting, but it was just kind of like details coming soon.
Right.
And so at this point, did you think that maybe this was like the perfect setup for Joe to finally meet his stalker?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's like getting them all together at this like one place would be a perfect place for the stalker to keep on messing with Joe, maybe to be able to kill a few more people and be able to pin it on Joe and continue to mess with Joe. So that was perfect because they were going to be away from London. All of the rich people that, feel that they're being targeted by the Eat the Rich killer. So I was
Yes,
like,
such
oh, this
victims.
is right, right. Feel so bad for you. So I was like, yes, this is perfect. And
Mhm.
I think it really, really worked out.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, of course, he's having to mingle with socialites and rich people, right? He's got to fake an expensive bottle of wine to bring as gift. He shows up to the country home and sees that there's like a horde of servants
Yep.
outside greeting them with champagne, and everyone's just out mingling. But then you also see Kate outside, and she seems very perturbed at these dudes in black suits, and she's
Mhm.
kind of arguing with one, and you're just like, what is that all about, right? Like, why would she be upset about presumably these bodyguards
Right.
being present at the home, right? And one funny interaction that I think is kind of notable is when Gemma approaches Joe.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like, did you just want to slap her as much as I did?
I was like, are you going to be the next person, the next victim? Like, I won't be upset, like, if that happens because she's just been so obnoxious the whole time.
Yeah.
And, like, at first I was like, well, maybe she does have some redeeming qualities and we might get to like her throughout the season, but no, like, yeah, no.
No.
So that was just annoying to just hear her and then to listen to Joe's internal monologue about her when he was saying like, "Oh, like maybe you can be next. Like you're so annoying. Like maybe the killer can get you next." And I was like,
It's so funny.
Joe, like, are you saying that maybe you're the killer and subconsciously you're saying this?" But what was funny is that she actually picked up on Joe's long pauses whenever he's doing his little thinking to myself, and she was like, "Okay, well, you're boring, so I'm gonna go do something else now. Do better." So I just thought that that was funny.
Yeah, she's very quick, or not quick, but she's certainly not shy pointing out that Joe is the outsider, and
Yeah.
he just basically doesn't belong. And then on the heels of Gemma leaving him, Rold comes up and kind of is harsh, I guess, towards him,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, again, what is all this about? Like, are you the killer and are you just trying to throw Joe off the scent, and
Right.
or are you wanting him to know that it's you, right? Well, quickly, Joe finds out that there's absolutely no phone service or Wi Fi at the house. And for him, that's only going to just make things semi worse because again, he's
Right.
supposed to be meeting his stalker at some
Mhm.
point, right? And again, we see those armed bodyguards, what have you, roaming around the house, and again, they're outside of Kate's room, which is adjoined
Yeah.
to Joe's room, and I'm like, Phoebe, my girl, were we doing this on purpose, or is it just happenstance?
Some matchmaking.
Yeah, I mean, because Kate makes the remark about his bed. It's
Mhm.
great for shagging.
Yeah.
She's like, well, too bad that's not going to be happening. He goes, yeah, it's really too bad. And she's like, good. He goes, good.
Yeah.
Just
Especially after last episode, she's like, I would rather be chopped up to bits than have to spend another, second with you or whatever she said. So I'm like, now like you're back to making some like sexual jokes with him. Like, make up your mind. What is it?
I mean, are we hot or are we cold? Like,
Right?
or like pick a side. Pick a side.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, pick a side. After Kate leaves, there's this mysterious letter that's passed through underneath Joe's door, and he opens it in 2 words: portrait gallery. And
Mhm.
his inner monologue is kind of like, is this you? Like, is this how we're gonna meet? But Joe's not gonna go anywhere without being prepared.
Right.
Before he left his home, he took a book, and it's like, okay, this is pretty typical. Joe reads books. He likes books. Nope. Book is hollowed out. I'm not quite sure what the device is called.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
It's
too.
like a wire that's got these handles on the end, and it's just used to, like,
Is it
choke
called
out
to
somebody.
garrote? I know like it's called to garrote somebody, but is that what the device is also called?
See, I don't know. I
don't
don't.
know.
I'm not well versed in
But
weapons
yes,
like that.
loving his like assortment of like weapons. Like you would think a knife or a gun. No, he's got his little like
Yeah, whatever that weapon is, he pockets it, makes his way to the portrait gallery, which, by the way, for someone who has never been to this house before, he certainly found the portrait gallery fairly quickly.
right.
Now, it's probably just because it's a show. I'm probably just thinking too much into it, but it's just something I observed, okay? Especially on the
Yeah.
second watch.
Yeah.
But talk to us about the portrait gallery, Marcy.
I don't remember too much because I haven't seen it in a few days. Refresh my memory.
So the portrait gallery, where he thinks that he's going to meet his stalker, he's actually pulled in to the portrait gallery by
Yes.
Lady Phoebe.
Yes.
And it's a boudoir, if you
yes,
will.
her boudoir. Yes. Thank you. That was hilarious when he sees all of these phallic symbols and basically like dildos and
They're
like
candles.
candles and like molds of all of her. Did she say it's all of her ex-lovers' penises
Yes.
or just yeah? So
And there were a lot, people.
Loving her sex positivity, like she is unapologetic. So like we are all for that, Lady Phoebe. But
yes, ma'am.
I think even Joe was he was definitely taken aback. Like, what the hell is this? And then she is like, we should have sex. Which I think, knowing Joe, like he can get fixated. So we could expect him to be like, oh, like, sure. And then be like, oh, Phoebe, like, is it you? Like,
yeah.
Are you hot from, whatever he likes to think. And no, he just kind of doesn't. He isn't into that. So we're like, okay, like, no. Joe, does this maybe mean that you are starting to fixate on Kate and that's why you don't want to do it? So yeah, I felt kind of bad for Phoebe at that point because she explains why she wants to have sex with him. It's not that she loves Jonathan or whatever. It's that she's feeling very neglected by Adam. So that just kind of made me feel really, really bad for her.
Yeah. And Joe, he doesn't like leave her high and dry. Like he rejects her, of course, and says, but you're with someone. He goes, that's the situation.
Yeah.
And when she raises her concerns about her relationship with Adam, Joe kind of counsels her in a way, doesn't completely tell the truth about his marriage, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But says that there were things that he was going through that took away time from his wife, and it hurt
Right.
her, and that more or less may be what's going on with Adam, of course. And
Right.
so Joe kind of unintentionally keeps Lady Phoebe and Adam together.
Right.
Hooray for everyone.
Yes. Unbeknownst to Adam, which will be important later. Like Adam doesn't know this part.
No, you're right. He doesn't. So Joe, for being an outsider, and I felt for him the next morning because he wanted to kind of like go about the house, try to figure out who the killer may be and what have you. But he what was it? He said he was held hostage because football was on and he was forced to sit and endure a football game. Soccer for us Americans here, y'all.
Yes.
But the next morning at breakfast, he's having to see how Gemma like treats the servants at the house, and it's really quite despicable. Like, where the hell does she get off thinking that that's okay? Because of the fact that she's got money, or what?
I'm assuming, but then again, like, I think I've also known like wealthy people, not like rich like these characters are supposed to be, but I don't think I've ever known anybody that would just openly treat people like that. So I don't know if it's like a rich thing. I don't know if it's like an aristocracy thing. I don't know if it's just a her thing, but yeah, like that's what kept on solidifying it for me, that I was like, okay, like if you are the next to die, like I won't be upset. Like
same.
You should probably be the next to die. And I'm thinking that that's what the writers probably wanted us to think, to really hate her, to really have like some strong feelings about like, we're not going to be sorry if you do happen to be the next one to die.
Yeah, for sure. And I misspoke. It wasn't the next morning at breakfast. It was while they were playing what is it called? Cricket.
Yeah.
Cricket? Is it cricket? Croquet? One of the two. And again, she's like smacking the ass of a servant who has to serve as one of the arches.
Yeah.
And she makes him get on his hands and knees to play the game.
You could see the fear in his face because he's like, if they hit this ball wrong, it's gonna hit me. And it's like it's not a wiffle ball, it's like a hard, solid ball. So I felt bad for the dude.
I did too. And clearly Kate did as well, because she has to like remove herself from the scene.
Right.
And I mean, we've all kind of had our feelings about Kate up to this point, but it seems like just how Gemma is being so disrespectful and just flat out despicable towards other human beings. Like, you're kind of seeing a different side of Kate, that it's like she's friends with a lot of these really rich royal adjacent aristocracy people, aristocrats. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. But she's not like them, right? She has like a heart,
right,
if you will. But more on that later. But it isn't until Joe is greeted by Adam, and Adam says, "Hey, let's like go talk.
Yeah,
let's get to know each other better." And Joe's like, "Is it you?" It's not. No, it's not.
No, Adam, he was like, I better not be another boudoir. And that just like made me crack up. Better not be another boudoir.
Listen, I was a little concerned too, given what we know about Adam at this point.
Exactly, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, but that's not what it is at all. Adam just wants to talk with Joe because word got around Joe's been married.
Right.
He's asking for relationship advice, and he really doesn't get it because Adam just keeps talking over Joe. All in all, he's like, I'm never going to be without money. I can't. Right. And the sure way to make sure that doesn't happen is to marry Phoebe.
Yeah.
What do you think about Adam's plan?
Don't love it, because a few episodes ago, like, it seemed like he really liked her. And well, granted, he was on drugs, but they asked him, like, how do you feel about her? And he's like, she's just like having cookies for breakfast, like every day and like for every meal. So it's like, oh, like that's kind of like sweet that that's how you think of her. But now, like he's asking Joe for marriage advice. Like, okay, after you got married, did it change anything? So we could assume, like, oh, like, okay, Adam, like you do want to get married. Good for you. And then he goes into saying, like, the real reasons he wants to get married. Not the first one isn't that maybe he loves Phoebe. It's that is a sure way of making, of ensuring that he will keep money, right? Like he's hemorrhaging money. All of the things that he tries, like, fail. So he's like, okay, if I want to set myself up, I need to marry Phoebe. So I was like, damn it, Adam, I thought like maybe like you were kind of sweet, but no, you've got ulterior motives to maybe get married.
He's just an idiot.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, the only other American in this group really doesn't paint us in the best of at all. Like, just at all. Well, then their conversation shifts to that of Rolled, because Joe makes a comment about how he's happy that Phoebe invited him, and Adam's like, oh no, this was Roll's idea. Roll invited you. And it's like, oh, well, is Roll the stalker then?
Is it you?
Is it you? Hello, you. When Joe is returning to his room, she encounters him and asks for his assistance to untangle her necklace, because all of a sudden that's really important, right? The mere touch and the closeness between the two, you kind of begin to sense that sexual tension, and they act as if they're about to go all the way, and they don't. They stop. She gets a knock on her door, so she goes through the adjoining door, and it's Rolled. Rolled is there, who's hey, we're gonna go for a swim, and the way that he talks to her, like, kind of calls her on her BS and what have you. Like, what did you make of their relationship just by seeing that small interaction?
It's kind of like the guy who likes a girl or who likes you, but is still like very smug about it to seem like cooler than they are, right? They don't want to like seem like, like so hung up on you that they're like, I'm just going to play it cool. And like, no, you can tell that he likes her. And then we see that he's got all these pictures of her on his camera. So we're like, okay, Rolled, like.
Or should we say Peach?
Right.
That was a very Peach move.
Exactly. And then I'm like, did you know that she was with Joe and they were like getting close, and that's why you were like, now I've got to like disrupt this. So Rolled is kind of shady. Like, at this point, he's seeming very, very shady. Before he just seemed like kind of an asshole, but now he's like an asshole that is shady, and like he could possibly be the stalker.
Right. Yeah. Because in Joe's mind, in order for Rolled to be the stalker person, he has to obviously be in love with Kate, and thus got rid of Malcolm in order to be with Kate, right? So it kind of is logical for sure, but Joe needs that proof. So while Kate and Rolled are off swimming with everyone, Joe goes into Rolled's room, which is immaculately tidy.
Yes.
Very serial killer like, in my opinion, because whoa. And like you said, he found photos of Kate, very what's the word I'm looking for?
Kind of like she was unaware.
Yes,
it kind of reminded me of Love Actually, where I don't know if you've seen the movie, but this guy's in love with his best friend's wife, and he was the videographer during their wedding, and like basically the whole wedding video is close-ups of her. And we're like, yeah, so that's kind of what it reminded me of. I was like, okay, Love Actually.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, like, I mean, there's photos like up her skirt, and you see her undressing. It's just okay. Roll, you're obsessed. You're obviously in love. But like I said earlier, that made me think of Peach, when Peach had all those photos of Beck on her computer. So I mean, that was an interesting kind of callback. So Joe at one point will encounter the two, Rolled and Kate, and will say to Roll, like, hey, thanks for inviting me. I hope this is a chance for us to get to know each other better. And Roll just kind of like looks at him and then just walks away.
Yeah.
I was like, what's all that about?
Typical.
Jeez.
For this crowd.
Yeah. But Kate kind of like gives some insight about Rolled when Joe asks her about now his like number one suspect, if you will. Like, what's up with him? What's the story? And she's like, well, if he meets you and he doesn't want you to think he's soft, like he's gonna start treating you badly because that's just who he is, and he's just an asshole basically. And I was like, great. And he's your friend? Why?
Right. And
No
do you like him, or do you just keep him around because he's a convenient friend to have? Maybe, who knows?
That makes a lot more sense, like a convenience sort of take on it. I don't know, because obviously she's aware of how he feels towards her. It's definitely not reciprocated by any means, but still, like, she literally cannot stand Gemma and how she treats people. Like, how is Rolled any better?
Right.
Like, Gemma's just more upfront about it.
Right. True. Yeah. Maybe Rolled wouldn't have, one of the butlers get on all fours while they were playing croquet. Who knows? Like, maybe he has like a line that he doesn't cross, but
I don't know.
Maybe he is useful to her in other ways that Gemma isn't. Maybe he does have redeeming qualities. Gemma just didn't seem to have any at all.
We'll put a pin in that, and we'll come to that part where I definitely don't think there's any redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Nope.
But again, Gemma continues to be despicable. The next morning for tea, she's smacking the ass of the servant and declaring that because she's wealthy, she's therefore superior, and that's what makes her her. And Kate does confide to Joe that Gemma in university was fine, but when something doesn't grow, it rots.
Yep.
And I thought that was a very well phrased line, because it's just so true. Like, being ugly in the sense of your personality.
Right.
And I'm like, and now reflecting, of course, the more light that was shed on Gemma, it was just like, oh yeah, you're totally next. You're going to be the next victim.
Yeah.
So Roll will invite Joe to get to know each other better. They're going to go hunting.
Great idea, Rolled.
Yeah, but we get a little bit more insight on Rolled as a person, how he met Kate, what Kate was going through as a child when they went to boarding school in Rhode Island, and that Rolled basically will do whatever in order to protect Kate. But with the setup of they're going hunting, they're carrying their shotguns, and it's just like, what did you anticipate was going to happen during this interaction?
This whole scene made me just really nervous for either one of them. I'm like, okay, like, we know Rolled is shady and like he might try to like kill you or something. But also Joe, like, we know he is a murderer, so he might try to kill you. So it just made me uneasy. I was like, okay, this cannot end well for like either of these two guys. And it was kind of off-putting because Joe had his hand in his pocket for the longest time. So it was like, are you hiding something else in your pocket? Like, what is this? I just thought it was really, really weird. And it turned out that it was nothing, because he eventually like just took his hand out of his pocket and was like, I don't know, like,
I think it was just a way. I think it was just a way for him to like carry the shotgun and not put like a lot of strain on like just holding it like this.
That's what I'm assuming, because I was like, why are you just, your hand is in your pocket? That's so weird. But no, I was like, somebody's gonna get shot. And luckily they didn't yet, I guess.
But it appeared that Roll maybe was going to take a literal shot at Joe, because he Roll is pressuring Joe to shoot pheasants, right? Because they're hunting. This is apparently a very British thing, right? Hunting. And And Joe's like not about this. He in his narration says he's about gun control and he's
Right.
like not wanting to shoot caged birds, for entertainment purposes. But he goes and plays along, right? And he shoots and completely misses. It's terrible
Yeah.
shot. But he continues walking and Rolled slowly falls a little bit more behind. And then he starts picking up his shotgun and it
Yeah.
looks like he's pointing it to the back of Joe.
Yeah.
And the I can't remember exactly the lines that were being said by Rolled, but Joe's kind of like, is this you? Like, are you going to kill yourself? Well, luckily Kate comes and saves the day. She takes a shot at the pheasant. It drops and she tells Joe basically to go away and she needs to have a talk with Rolled.
Save yourself. I would not have been surprised if he would have taken a shot at Joe, and I would have been like, shot him in the back, like kind of a cowardly move. Way to go, Rolled.
Yeah,
but I also thought it was interesting that Joe like makes so much of a point to say like I abhor guns and like I'm all about like gun control because I'm like yes, but you're also a murderer. But at least you have like your like moral compass as a murderer.
But has he murdered with a gun?
I don't think he has.
I don't think he has. Okay. So he has his limits.
Yeah, exactly. Which is refreshing, for like a murder. But I would not have been surprised if he would have tried to shoot at Joe. And then obviously he could have just like said, well, it was an accident, kind of like Dick Cheney. And he also alluded to that whenever they got to him.
The vice president.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
So I was like, oh, he could have just like said it was an accident. Or also he's rich enough and has enough connections to like sweep this under the rug. So I definitely was glad to see Kate to just come in and save the day, if you will.
Yeah, very reverse of like a what is it, the knight in shining armor coming to save the day. Like Kate, for someone who previously said her day was full, couldn't do anything with Rolled, but yet she follows them into the forest. Like that was very interesting. A quick shout out to you, McDorks. Appreciate you being here, joining the live chat. Let us know your thoughts on these episodes of Netflix U. So yeah, like she has this talk with Rolled and basically kind of just says the things that she's just never said aloud. I guess you could say, like, whatever you think there may be between us, like there isn't, like, let it go kind of thing. He tells her things that she doesn't want to hear either about you pretty much pretend to be like this hardened person, but really you have a good heart. And it basically infuriates her that she has such a good heart. Like she doesn't want to be that person. I don't know. That was a very interesting conversation between these two. Like it doesn't stop there because the interesting conversation carries on to dinner. But before that, Joe, as one does, has trouble putting on cufflinks.
Yes.
I don't know why. Kate helps. It turns into sex.
Of course. Maybe that is the purpose of cufflinks, as a way to like start an introduction and then have it lead to sex. Who knows?
Sure, we'll go with that. So the eat the rich killer is a topic of conversation during dinner, and Gemma, who's completely sloshed, like without a doubt, is basically saying that a jealous person who despises the idea of more like people being more proficient or more whatever, it's, how do I want to phrase this? Like, it's not her fault, and then she kind of pointed at Joe saying like, you despise us, don't you? Like you really don't like the fact that we're rich and we are who we are.
Right.
And that it doesn't stop with just Gemma, right? Rolt kind of starts taking a crack at Joe as well, asking like he's being very hostile, and he provokes him by asking him if there's any animosity towards the wealthy in the room.
Right.
And what did you make of Joe's response about he's happy with his life?
Kind of believe it. Just because I think Joe seems to be able to make the best out of every situation he's in, I guess, even if
Mhm.
it does mean that eventually, like, the person he loves gets murdered.
Mm.
That just means that he can move on to the next and have this new next adventure. So, I do think that he is somebody that is satisfied with his station in life. I don't think he's just kind of like harboring all of these feelings of ill will towards people just because they're rich. And we even saw this in Madre Linda when, like, they're in like this fancy neighborhood and, just there were people who were richer than them around. And he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm like so not into like this. This makes me
Right.
kind of uncomfortable. So I tended to believe him there. Like I wouldn't suspect that Joe would like be murdering people just because they're rich.
Mm. Mhm. I agree. And still conversations going. Gemma takes a crack at Joe and says, "Hey, maybe you're the killer
Mhm.
because the killings only began after
Yeah.
you joined our group." And of course, everyone who's there is either loaded or just completely
Right.
drunk. They're just laughing about it. But Kate's like very, very focused on the conversation at hand, and she's
Yeah.
basically telling Gemma to stop. She's trying to do whatever she can, and Rold like takes a crack at her,
Yeah.
criticizes her moral character, and that her family history, or according to her family history, she's the worst
Yeah.
among. Were you the first time you watched this, were you as just as confused as I was about what was happening at this moment?
Yes, because I kind of felt that maybe she was like wealthy-ish to some extent, not as rich as like they are, but
Mhm.
come to find out she is the richest one of them there. So that was an interesting like discovery for us. But then I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense because we do see a lot of this type of trope in like movies or
Mhm.
TV shows where it's like the person that's so rich, but they want to get away from all of that. They say, like, oh, well, that's my family's money. Like, I'm normal.
Right.
So I was like, okay, like that's the type of character that they are wanting her to be.
Mhm. No, and I think by slowly peeling back those layers of Kate and getting that full reveal, granted, it was in a really nasty way from someone who claims he cares for her and loves her, but he literally throws her under the bus like that and
Yeah.
in front of everybody. And Joe's like, what the hell is going on? Lady Phoebe, in the meantime, excuses herself only to come back. And it's announced that it's announced that we're here for a murder mystery, basically, because that's just something that is done. So everyone is expected to participate, find the
Mhm.
murderer. It's well, how did Joe say it? Unironic that they're playing this murder mystery
Yes.
game. It's so funny. But that's when he runs into Kate. She tells him the full story of who she
Yeah.
really is, who her father is, and by extension, because of who and what he does, her family is the wealthiest family
Yeah.
amongst the Oxford group.
Yeah.
And she hates the fact that her father liquidates businesses, does shady shit on the side, and like basically contaminated water that made
Mhm.
kids sick with cancer.
Yeah.
But the company made 400 million pounds. And so for her to like want to disassociate herself with that makes complete sense. And she said she
Mhm.
just wanted to do good or
Right.
be a good person. And I'm like, okay, Kate, I have a little bit more respect for you now. What,
Right.
what were your thoughts on that reveal?
Same. I think that humanized her a little bit more, which I think was part of the point of this episode was for us to see like a different side of Kate, a more human and like kind side of
Yeah.
Kate to see like, okay, like she does have feelings. The first couple episodes really painted her out to be like this really like cold person. She does have feelings and this tells us a little bit more about her, but also could open up more possibilities as to like who might be the killer and what their motivations might be. Or is this also some really good misdirection, and maybe like Kate really is shady and like she really doesn't care about all this stuff. And she's just using that to kind of like make Joe feel sorry for her or like throw him off the track if she is the killer or the stalker. But I thought that it was a very interesting like reveal of like, oh, like this is actually why like I'm super, super rich. Yeah, and it just made me feel really bad for her too, because we know that her mom like went through like a tough time and she had to like go to rehab and stuff. So I'm like, wow, like you're super rich and like you can still have like this really fucked up life, and like your mom could still like be kind of like left, you know, to by herself.
Yeah, I mean, just because you have money doesn't mean you don't have problems.
Right.
You know, and I could go on a down a rabbit hole about that, but we're gonna stay focused here.
Yeah.
But Joe and Kate at this point share like a very genuine connection, because he shares with her that he too understands more or less where she's coming from about family and blood and what have you, and never being able to forgive past transgressions, basically. And he admitted it to himself that there's a possibility he's starting to fall in love with Kate. And it's like, oh God, this is
here we go.
Here we go. And talk about here we go, Walking with the Woods. Nick and Claire, appreciate y'all popping into the chat. We're almost wrapping up episode 4 of You, but not done yet. So because they're playing a murder mystery game, one of the friends comes and says, hey, get back in the game.
Yeah.
And Joe is going to take the opportunity to go back into Rold's room to try to, you know, find some sort of proof that he is the actual murderer.
Yeah.
Rold actually catches him in the room. They kind of briefly scuffle. There's a window, and you know when there's a window and someone's up against it, you know what's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Woo! Rold pushes Joe out the window, and he lands on shrubbery. That has to hurt.
Yes.
Like, if that doesn't kill you, that's going to hurt.
Yes. I don't understand how he was able to get up as quickly as he did and just kind of like readjust his neck and just be like, okay, like I sleep wrong and I can't get out of bed. And he was just like thrown out of a window.
Yeah. I mean, what, second floor window perhaps?
Or taller than,
or more than
probably,
that?
Probably second floor if he was still able to survive, but it looks like pretty tall.
Yeah, regardless, like, and no. Yeah, so Rold's failed attempt to, I guess, murder Joe, because he made the comment, he goes, you know, it's funny, at every single one of these events, someone always gets hurt, push.
Yep.
And it's like, but are you the one who's always doing it?
Right.
You know, inquiring minds want to know at this point. But Joe will go back inside the mansion, or because he hears a scream. You know, there's people carrying on, they're laughing, partying, what have you. But he hears a scream and he's like, no, that one's real. That one's a real scream. Runs through the house, yelling out for Kate. He goes through his room, knocks down the door to the adjoining room, which is Kate's.
Yeah.
Only to find her kneeling on the ground with a knife in her hand, a bloody knife in her hand. And there lies Gemma's body.
We are not sad about this.
We are not sad about this at all. Man, if there was someone I wanted to die, it was her. Like,
right?
Just this episode alone, from the moment she spoke to Joe to the moment that she didn't, I was like, someone got to take her out. But that leaves you on the cliffhanger. And just going immediately into the next episode, which is entitled "The Fox and the Hound." What do you think Joe was thinking at that moment with the cliffhanger?
I think he was probably thinking like, "Well, it's another one, like, and I didn't do it." Like,
yeah,
right? Like at least I know it wasn't me, and like they didn't kill me. I'm not like the next victim too.
Like he's 1 for 3. Like
exactly.
he didn't do
but
it,
now
maybe.
he's like, was it Kate? Have I like fallen in love with another like crazy psycho like the last time?
Like love.
Yeah, like I fell in love and she turned out to be crazier than I was. Like, did I do this again? Like, holy crap. So I think those are some of the right.
Sorry.
I think those are some of the things that he was probably thinking, like, shit, I did it again.
Oh man. So yes, at this point, he thinks he's identified the Eat the Rich killer because again, Kate is near Emma's corpse holding a knife, and Kate appears to be really upset. Which, once again, this show does a really good job making you second guess yourself. Like, is this real, or are they playing the part to make you believe that they're not the killer, but they really are? Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but her genuine concern is because of the fact that there's bodyguards there that her dad sent. That's revealed, and she's just worried that this is going to give him a legitimate argument to bring her back into the family,
right?
Protect her and kind of be under his control,
right?
And Kate then also looks at Joe and she's like, okay, you're going to be the prime suspect in this because of what Gemma had said at dinner.
Right.
What did you make of the deal that Joe made with her to help get rid of the body?
I was like, oh, you're so helpful. It's like, okay, like, we'll get rid of the body together. Like, as long as you and I do it, like, we'll know it's done correctly. And like, then we can't like blame each other because like, we both know that we were in on like the disposal. And then I love when she kind of like takes a knife and like holds it up against his neck and she's like, wait, why are you so good at this? And I'm like, okay, do you want his help or not? But also, yes, like that is one thing to wonder, like, why are you so good at being able to dispose of bodies? So I was like, okay, like this is nice, like some teamwork between the two.
But also, Kate, why are you so good at like having the balls to hold a knife to someone's neck?
Exactly.
Like, have you done this before? Come on.
Like,
come on.
Somebody has already done this before. We know Joe has, but have you also done this before?
Yeah. What shady stuff have you? If they're gonna make her into another Love, because we learned in previous seasons what Love did in order to protect her twin brother.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a little upset, honestly. Like, let's not rehash old storylines. No. So in trying to get rid of the body, they wrap Gemma up in a rug, throw her in a wooden box that's in Kate's room. They try to lift it up. Nope, the bottom gives out.
Yeah. I think she says like antique piece of shit or something like that.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And they are interrupted. I believe Lady Phoebe comes in to sit on the box and of course they're trying to figure out a way to like get her out of the room and the reason that Phoebe is in the room because she had seen in the previous episode, which didn't mention, that Adam was talking very like kind of sweetly to one of the servants who we can only assume also performed golden showers.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh my God. Ugh. Sorry. That's just gross to me. So they're talking about, she's wanting to talk about that. And then Kate, in order for Phoebe to leave, she's like, hey, I need you to go because we're about to have sex. I need a good fuck. I need a good fuck right now.
Yeah.
When in doubt, y'all, in order to clear a room,
just say that. But also Phoebe wasn't able to read the room because like she comes in and they're like tense because of they disposing of a body. And she's just like, let me sit down and just kind of tell you my problems. And then they're just trying to like make anything up to get her to leave. And I'm like, can you not read the room? Like, obviously there is some tension here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Poor Phoebe. Sweet Phoebe. I do like her. As a character. I think she's a fun, kind of lovable sort of character. But so when she does leave, Joe and Kate are back to trying to figure out what to do with the body. He decides, hey, I'm going to do what just happened to me a little while ago with Roald. Chucks that corpse out the window. My goodness. why?
Yeah. This is overkill at this point.
But the fact that Kate had said to him, hey, let's take her to the animal lauder. Like, who does this? Again, you threw a knife at Joe's neck asking him, why are you so good at this? Girl, we have seen you fire a shotgun, to a pheasant, shot it out of the sky.
Yep.
Why are you so good at coming up with things like this?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would be freaking out and not really thinking straight. She just seems like to have a list of what to do next if you find a body.
Yeah. So again, at this point for me, and Christian in the chat earlier had said he knew who it was. He was just hoping he was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 95% sure of who the killer was at that, like, up to this point. But when Kate started doing these things and saying certain things at this point, I'm like,
yeah,
okay, maybe it's not who I thought it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kate's really good at this.
And why is she really good?
Yeah.
At this? Yeah. It was very concerning to say the least. And Joe does reveal the half-truth about why he is so good at this, and talks about how Malcolm's death was attempted to be blamed on him.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my notes real quick, so pardon me for this. He starts talking about how he stayed faithful to his wife for far too long and assisted her with all the dumb things that she did, right? And reveals that when he was finally free of love, he left his son behind.
Yeah.
These are hard truths for Joe, right? But Kate, once again, believes him. She doesn't question it. She's like, okay. He, for any thoughts that he may have had towards Kate being the actual killer is completely dispelled based on her emotional reaction, right? So quickly talking about Adam and Phoebe, if you want to talk about this, because this is
I felt so bad for her. Very bad for Phoebe at this point.
Walk us through it.
Yeah, so Phoebe finds Adam and is like, okay, it's okay, babe. Like, Jonathan told me that you have a kink and maybe that's why we're not connecting. So I am so into you and into our relationship that I am willing to try it. But like, I have to find out what is the kink.
Yeah.
What is it? So, she asks him a couple things. And then she lands on golden showers. I think that was like the third or fourth thing that she said.
Something like that.
So, yeah. So and then she's like, okay, like, I'll try, but why? Like, she tried to be understanding, but she was like, but why do you like this? Yeah. So she's like, okay, like, I will roll with this. Like, if this is what it takes for us to be close. So, they're getting ready to, engage in the golden showers. They're getting ready for the shower. And you see him just like wince a lot. So she's like, okay, not feeling it if you're just kind of like having your eyes closed and wincing. Right. So she asked him, okay, like, what is it? And he was able to be honest and say, like, okay, the thing is that the person standing above me, it only works because I feel that they are beneath me in life. Now, this isn't doing it for me because I guess on some level, like, I feel that you are not beneath me, like you are above me. And that's what she deduces. So she's like, okay, then like, that's not great for you to think that you're below me. Like, that doesn't feel like we are partners in life. So that just kind of, she gets very introspective and decides, okay, like, maybe we just need to break it off. Like, this isn't great. Like, if you're feeling this way, it, it's not boding well for our relationship. Which then Adam gets upset about, again, not because he's so in love with Phoebe and doesn't want to lose her. He doesn't want to lose the money that comes with Phoebe. So that's when he starts to be like, damn it, Jonathan, if you hadn't have said anything about my kink, we wouldn't be in this situation. So I felt very bad for Phoebe at that point, but I like that she was able to be clear-headed and be like, oh, like, this isn't like a relationship where we are on the same level. Like, we should put a pause on it. I like that she was able to do that, even if she was drunk and like we later learned that she's on benzos. But that was a moment of clarity for her.
Yeah. No, I mean, shout out to Phoebe for standing up for herself. And I'm sure that would hurt, of course, hearing from your partner that you genuinely love and you think you want to spend the rest of your life with, for your partner to feel inadequate or we're not equal. That's very hard. That's very hard to hear. And love the people that you love them for their flaws, their good, their bad. It's that's what makes a relationship work, right within reason. So you're right to say that Adam has kind of got it out for Joe or Jonathan at this point, because he's like, you're the rat that let the cat out of the bag, and now I'm gonna come after you, kind of situation. So while Joe and Kate are going through like the cleaning supply closet, Kate realizes like, oh, my bracelet that has my name on it. Okay, why do people need to wear jewelry that has their name on it? Did you forget your name? Like,
I have a necklace that has my name on it, but it's from the 90s.
Okay, that's forgivable. That's forgivable. That's
when
okay.
It was like, a thing.
It was popular. I get it. Yeah. No. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it too.
But also,
not as a 30-year-old. I'm sorry.
But also,
I maybe have a necklace that has my initial on it, but like your whole name. I feel the same even with people who like tattoo their names for their partner's
very
names.
Incriminating if you are going to engage in crime or covering up a crime. Like, you probably don't want to have anything that could fall off if it has your name on it.
Exactly. Reading this comment from Christian. Yeah, when my husband told me he was gay, we worked it out and stayed strong. I love you. Great comment. Yeah, so like I said, Kate realizes, she must have left the bracelet with Gemma over in the animal water place, and Joe says, hey, I'm gonna go get it. And Kate's gonna go clean up the room, of course. Phoebe's waiting for her in this room because she's witnessed all the blood. Yeah. And it's like, what the hell just happened here? So Kate is honest. Kate is honest with Phoebe, who's like her BFF, and persuades her not to say anything to anyone because of XYZ reasons. But then Phoebe advises Kate in turn to let the security staff know, because that would be like, I guess, the best course of action, if you will. There is there's been a known death. There's someone here on the loose that could potentially do it again to everyone else. So, so they come to this conclusion that Gemma is just simply missing, rather than having to explain Kate's room and why there's blood there. And so Kate doesn't feel any obligation to like her father, and there's like no consequences that will follow, which I thought, given the state that Phoebe was in, like mentally and emotionally at that point, like that was also brilliant.
Yeah.
Why are you so good at this, Phoebe?
Yeah, exactly. She's supposed to be like loopy and like out of it, but I'm like, okay, like you're still making a lot of sense.
Yeah. So the girls are on a mission to inform the employees to like vacate the house. Less people, the better. In the meantime, Joe is going to go and retrieve Kate's bracelet. Rold catches up with him in the act and has like, was it a gun? He had a gun to him, I think, once again in the larder. And Rold, who is heavily intoxicated, he's enraged. And he goes and presents Joe as the Eat the Rich killer to the rest of the Oxford group.
Yep.
Of course, they're loaded. They think it's funny. They think it's just a joke or whatever. And when Joe does attempt to defend himself, everyone is just like, okay, sure, why not? We'll go with that. Christian says here, the fact that they have friends being murdered one by one and act like nothing was just shocking to me. It makes you question, how real are these friendships in this Oxford group?
Not at all.
Like, we saw a man who claims to love another woman in the group, like, just berate her in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a woman just outright say to the outsider, hey, you're the killer, without any shred of evidence whatsoever. Yeah, these people are just ready to throw each other under the bus at any given moment.
And I don't think anybody would have missed Phoebe. Like, nobody's saying like, hey, where did Phoebe go? Like, that's the extent of their friendship. They're not really friends. Like, nobody's missing her. Nobody's like, hey, where did she go? Like, where is my friend? Like, no, they don't give a shit. They probably forgot that she was there. And at the end of the weekend, if nothing else happened, they probably would have just left and like wouldn't have remembered that Phoebe was there, that Gemma was even there.
Yeah. So Adam also is out for blood. He says, let's put Joe's head on a silver platter, as you do. It's ridiculous. Roll declares that he has the authority to put peasants down because his uncle or somebody or other is a Supreme Court judge, and by osmosis, I guess, that right. That gives him the right to decide a man's fate, which is ridiculous. And so he's playing a game of, Fox and the Hound, right? He lets Joe go and gives him a head start, and he's going to go pursue him, and he's going to basically kill him if he can. Yeah. Christian says, if I knew someone who just got murdered and we weren't close, I will still be heartbroken. That's fair. But see, you're a kind-hearted person. These people are not.
Yes, you are a normal person. I mean, I will watch Dateline and I get heartbroken for people that I didn't even know got murdered. So I think that is like the normal human response. These are maybe like some psychos on, another level.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. So as Joel, see, here I go saying Joel for Joe. And then on Last of Us, I want to say Joe for Joel. It's so backwards. As Joe and Roald are in the forest, Kate and Phoebe enter the living room. Kate's like, what the hell is going on? She's going to order the security team to find Joe and Roald. But they take too long, as security team does. So she's going to go find him herself, right?
Right.
And when Joe tries to hide from Roald in the forest, hold on a second, I can't read my notes right now. Alter the game and take the Joe basically is gonna, like, you know what, I'm gonna take this matter in my own hands. I'm gonna take the sucker out, right? Like I'm gonna kill Roald, but the unexpected happens. Talk to us about this unexpected event. And were you surprised at this point?
I was not. So there's somebody else there who wants both Joe and Roald. They am I getting too far ahead? I don't want to get too far ahead.
The big reveal in the forest is that someone who wasn't part of the weekend getaway group shows up.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I just didn't want to say yet if I'm getting too
nope,
far ahead.
We're right there. We're right there. This person shoots Joe.
Yes. So our good friend Reese, who we hadn't seen yet, who there had been a lot of theories about if you've been reading different things that people are saying. He is there. Has he been here this whole time, or did he just arrive? We don't know this. Right. But both Joe and Roald both end up, I guess it's the basement, or not the basement. What do they call it on like
It's
fancy
a
escape.
hidden. I
Yeah,
think it's
like
a
a
hidden
dungeon,
basement,
maybe.
kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably it's something that may not have been even known to Phoebe,
Yes, yeah.
given that it's her family home.
They end up chained in this basement dungeon
Mhm,
type of thing. So that adds another layer of, well, then what the crap is going on? Like, have all of our theories been wrong? Because, some people were thinking maybe it's Kate. Obviously, it wasn't her. Now we have
mhm,
Reese showing up. Yeah.
mhm. That to me, I was like, okay, good. I say okay, good because he was the one person after episode 1. I'm like, oh, it's totally him.
Yeah.
There was an encounter between Joe and Reese at the dinner party for Simon
Hmm.
that Reese said something to Joe along the lines of, are you all right? You look sick to your stomach.
Yeah.
And for him to be that perceptive and no one else was, granted, everyone else is just self-centered. I was like, oh, it's him. It's totally him. It had to have been him, especially with the rewatch of
Hmm.
episode 4 when
Yeah.
everyone is at Sundry House and the cops are there. Reese was the only one who was not there.
Yeah.
And he also was not at Hampsie. Gemma made a comment at dinner saying that, he just needs to admit to himself and everyone else in the world, he's better than everyone. And that's why he's not here.
Right.
It was just like little comments like that kind of would make me believe more of Reese, but then other events would happen. I'm just like, well, maybe it's not him, or maybe
Right.
maybe they're his associates. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just not
Mhm.
working alone.
Yeah.
But all along, Reese has desired Joe's support. And it's like, oh my God, like how twisted are you? Reese wants to kill Rold.
Yeah.
And but he doesn't want to do it.
Right.
He wants Joe to do it.
A hired gun, if you will.
Exactly. And if Joe does kill Rold, excuse me, Reese will let Joe go.
Mhm.
I'm like, what is happening in this world?
Very
And
politician way to do it too. Like, I
oh
don't
my
want to get
God.
my hands dirty. Like, I will let you do it, have deniability, but like still do it for me, please.
Christian, I'm gonna need you to take a step back, sir. I wouldn't mind being locked up by Reese. My goodness, sir, you are you're a mess. Christian also continues to say, I thought it was Reese because he was a writer. Joe is good at what he does because he is smart and knows stories. He's very quick on problem solving. So Reese, being a writer, he knows
Yeah.
how to design the narrative. That is a good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, and because they have such similar backgrounds, right? Reese having grown up poor,
Mhm.
mother was, I think he said was it maybe a junkie, not knowing who his father was, and then like one day he discovers that his father's a lord, and then goes to Oxford and does all
Mhm.
these amazing things. Granted, that's not the same necessarily for Joe, but
Right.
for Reese, it's like, oh, I found someone who understands me
Yeah.
and who has had a hard life like me. I'm gonna go blame him for murders that I've committed.
And it's all gonna work out.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy. So in this instance though, because Joe is at the mercy of Reese, he's gonna kind of go along with it to say like, um, sure, I'll go ahead and kill Rold. And Reese is like, okay. He goes, if you do this, I'll release you. But of
Mhm.
course, Joe's thinking, okay, I got to figure out a way to escape myself.
Right.
They're in these ancient chains. Rold's completely knocked out. I think he was drugged.
Mhm.
And so Reese will return and discovers that Joe maybe isn't the person that he thought he was.
Yeah. He is trying to escape himself, but then He's like, maybe I should let rolled out. Like, maybe again, like maybe I do have a little bit of a moral compass. Like,
because
so
you're a good person.
exactly, right? Like he's been trying to tell himself all season long that he is a good person. So he's gonna help rolled out, and he picks up the stone. We don't know, okay, are you going to help him with that, or are you gonna just finish the job? Turns out no, like he actually helps Rolled get out of the handcuffs, which doesn't make Reese very happy, and he's shocked kind of that Joe didn't kill him. Were you shocked, Brittany, that this is what Joe decided to do?
It's hard to say, really, because I feel like when Joe has committed murders, it's for a good reason, or at least in his head. Right. He's not going to kill just to kill, right, which is not very character like for him. Now, Reese obviously has a motive to want to kill all these rich friends of his because they do think that they're better than everyone else and are superior and whatnot. So they both have their reasons to kill people. They just don't align, right? Joe will kill for love or out of love. Reese kills, it seems, because he's inferior or is perceived as being, lesser than his friends. And it's man, we could do like a character study of these two and it'd be amazing. So to say if I was surprised, it's kind of a yes and no. It's kind of a yes and no. I don't think Joe is just going to be that malicious to kill someone just to like save his own life or something like that. I've never felt that way about him.
Yeah, and I don't think he would have either just like left him there too to like get killed by Reese or like there's a fire, like to just kind of perish in this fire. So I'm like, okay, this also makes it more interesting too. Like there are witnesses. If they make it out alive, they are going to be able to say like, no, it's Reese. He is insane. Oh, that's a good question.
So Christian,
sympathy for Joe.
Christian asked, do we have any sympathy for Joe? Yes, in this instance, because I really hadn't believed that he was actually committing any of these murders.
Yeah.
And he is being blamed. He's the scapegoat of this because once obviously Reese found out his true identity and linked all the stories to people that were in Joe's life, it's like, oh, well, this is great. Like I can just blame him for everything that I do because Joe is supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
He's an expat, if you will. What better way than to blame it on him, right?
Yeah.
So I've got a little bit of sympathy. What about you, Marcy?
I do have sympathy for Joe. I think he had a very, very rough childhood that obviously like imparted all of this trauma on him that has caused him to be the way he is. But I don't have sympathy to the point where I can say like, I understand why you killed these people and like, I will support your decision to kill these people, because even if for those times that he's killed people and we can be like, oh, in I don't remember if it was season 2 or 3, but that comedian that was going to assault Ellie. Yeah. In season 2, like he's a sleazebag. Like, yes, like he's a terrible person, doesn't have redeeming qualities. However, like, I don't feel like he should have just been killed. Like that is a situation to like,
that was accidental though.
It's true. Yeah, you're right.
That was accidental.
I don't think there's ever been a time where I've been like, oh yes, Joe, like that was a righteous kill. Like totally support you with this. Like love it. So yes, I do have sympathy for him because his life could have probably turned out a lot different if he hadn't have gone through all that trauma.
Oh yeah. For sure.
But that doesn't justify like what he has done. And I think that is something that I guess the show is good about. It's like, okay, like giving us enough information to feel sympathy for some of these characters and like the choices that they make, but not justifying the choices that they make, and still be like, okay, you can still be accountable for your actions, but we understand like what might have caused you to do some certain things.
Yeah, for sure. So, Christian, I'm going to come back to your question momentarily. Just want to wrap up this episode really quickly. As Marcy mentioned, that Joe will escape this basement along with Rold, as it's been set on fire by Reese as a parting gift, if you will. And he says, "Hey, come find me in London, if you make it out of here." But he's going to basically kind of hang the murders over Joe's head and say, I'm going to accuse you for these murders. Like, just wait and see. So the house is going to go up in flames, or at least part of it, after they make the escape. Kate comes in, kind of helps find them, saves the day, if you will. She's kind of like our knight in shining armor, or in black, whatever. It works. So police discover evidence about Gemma's body. And Reese has, run away from this whole situation. Joe doesn't tell anyone about the true murderer's identity. I think because he wants to find Reese, right? He wants to deal with him, right? And everyone does know that Joe is at least not the eat the rich murderer, and they kind of like half-assed like an apology to him, like including like I would have loved to have heard Rold's apology, because he was hunting him down, he pushed him out the window. What the hell?
Sorry, I almost killed you multiple times. Thank you for not killing me and saving me and getting me out of the fire. Can we be friends now? I don't know how like that would have gone.
Exactly. Yeah, like how do you just kind of like let that go? Because I certainly wouldn't. Not at all. Would you?
No, absolutely not. But I think maybe Rold feels like he is rich and important enough that Joel would. Not Joel. Joe.
See, it's hard, right? It's hard.
Yes. Jonathan, I guess.
Jonathan.
To Rold.
Jonathan Moore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So once everyone arrives back in London, Kate heads over to Joe's to invite him for a drink. Something kind of casual. It's pretty clear now. She seems infatuated with Joe, and he's going to keep her at arm's length for her own safety. Is that what you got from it, Marcy? Yeah. Obviously, Reese has it out for the friends. He made it known to Joe in that super secret text message about, she needs to be dealt with. And Joe has to let Kate go, much like Marianne, in order to protect her. And Kate rightfully is kind of upset about the refusal. And Joe kind of questions, like, did he just like ruin his chance at love with her? And it's like, oh, Joe, poor sweet Joe. What did you think of the concluding scene of seeing Reese on the television and the big announcement he had to make?
I was like, of course, like you knew that that's what it was teeing up to. He's talking about like all of these things are important and changes and leading up to, and I am so honored to be able to like put myself in the ring as a candidate for mayor of London. So I'm like, okay, shit's gonna hit the fan when we come back on March 9th, because now it's going to be like a candidate like that has all of these shady things under the surface, and like how is that going to play out during his whole campaign? Is that maybe why he also needs to like murder people? Do these people have things on him that wouldn't be great if they came out to the light? But as we've seen, people can do terrible, terrible things and still be elected to high office. So Reese, like, you don't have to worry. Like, it is fine. You are a rich white man. Like,
oh man,
it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and he can spin stories, as Christian pointed out earlier. Because Reese is a writer, he can manipulate the narrative as he sees fit. And let's keep in mind too, he's already passed on Malcolm's pinky to the police. Simon's ear was cut off.
Yeah.
from him. So that could probably come to the surface at some
Be
point.
somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if he then begins to say Jonathan Moore's connected to this
Right.
murder, and maybe therefore that of Malcolm. I don't recall off the top of my head if there was something missing from Gemma.
Oh, good point.
It would have been very incriminating had the bracelet not been retrieved, because the bracelet was retrieved. No, it
I
wasn't
believe so.
retrieved.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if Reese got his hands on a body part of Gemma, which once again I can't recall if there was something missing. I don't think there was anything missing. It probably happened all too fast for him
True.
to take a body part.
Or
But maybe
maybe it's a different killer. We also don't. We're
Oh, that's a good
assuming that
point.
it's just been one killer. Like it could be multiple killers. That could also be a thing.
What if it really was Kate?
I would not be surprised. I mean,
Ooh.
could have also been Phoebe. I mean, that would be a stretch, but she was also very uncomfortable with what Gemma was doing. She was just not
Vocal.
calling it out like
Yeah.
Kate was, but I don't think it was Phoebe. I think she was too busy trying to like urinate on Adam and figure out her own problems to have done this. But
Yeah.
I think Phoebe's maybe like coming off as very, very sweet, but maybe she's also got some things hidden, hidden skeletons in the closet. And that's gonna,
Ooh.
make us, think that she's just a sweet person, but who
Mm,
knows? You never know.
that is fair. Phoebe, Christian here says Phoebe can be like
Yeah,
a Paris Hilton who acts dumb just to be a character.
exactly.
That is an interesting take. So that will wrap up part 1 of season 4 for Netflix series You. As Marcy mentioned, part 2 will be coming out March 9th, which is next Thursday. I'm very
Mhm.
excited about that. We will be reviewing part 2 here on the Watchers in the Basement. And to go back to Christian's question, which I think is a fair question to
Yeah.
ask, how do we feel about the tease of Marianne playing a big role in this season to only be featured? Do you think she may come back? So, Marcy, I'm going to let you answer that question first.
Oh, good. Um, my theory last time when we were talking about episode 3 was that maybe Joe wanted us to think that he spared Marianne and maybe he still killed her. So I'm kind of still holding on with that theory. I think maybe if we do see her again, it might be in flashbacks and it will explain more to us, like their interactions when they met up in London. Because I think there was definitely a lot more to that than just the time that they met in that old stairwell.
Mhm.
So that's kind of still what I'm thinking.
So, I'm not quite sure exactly how, if we're going to see her again, how that would happen,
Mm,
outside of, let's say, a flashback, like you mentioned.
yeah,
I don't personally anticipate seeing her again unless it's just kind of like happenstance. She's back in London for like
right,
an art related thing. I don't know if he would go out of, not he, but if Reese, being the known killer at this point, if he would go out of his way to find Marianne
right,
and then bring her just to torture Joe. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like, I don't know if we'll see her again, but yeah, the way that the teaser trailers were done, it kind of makes you believe like, oh, he went to find her. She's going to be a big part of the season,
Mhm.
and then she wasn't. Now, I do appreciate how the explanation we got for kind of like writing her out,
Right.
which was fine. It's like first episode, get
Mhm.
go, like we're good. It's cool. But I don't anticipate seeing her again. I would like to, but I don't think we will, just because she knows, or she has an opinion of Joe that I believe would prevent her from wanting to be with him ever.
I agree. And I think now that they have shown us Kate attaching more to Joe and now kind of falling for him, I think maybe that's going to make him be like, oh, well, maybe now I love Kate too. So I think maybe now she's going to be the object of the obsession
Yeah.
So where like Marianne is like we don't even have to think about her anymore because Joe's not thinking about her anymore.
Yes.
And maybe like they're both going to be the object of each other's affection and obsession
Maybe.
for the second part. We don't know because they're also, playing up Kate a lot in the teaser for this.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's you, so they could, throw like another like curveball at us and we'd be like, holy
Exactly.
crap, like that's what happened. Okay.
Yeah, and in the teaser trailer that at least I've seen, we see a lot of interaction between Reese and Joe, and Joe's kind of like, what do you want? Like,
Yeah.
what is it that you want? And Reese is like, I just want a friend. So twisted.
So
So
lonely.
twisted.
I just, need a friend.
Oh,
Maybe then I'll
man.
stop killing people. Who knows?
Or together we will rule the. Well, no, that's the wrong series. Anyway, so I don't know. I'm very much looking forward to part 2 that comes out next week. It's another 5 episodes for those of you who may be wondering. They will all drop Thursday, March 9th. Don't know specific time, but for sure 5 episodes. I'm still curious if maybe this is the way that they'll conclude the series altogether, even though they haven't advertised it as a series finale or, anything like that. I'm just very curious what Joe is going to do and if he's going to make it out alive. Like, do you think he's going to survive?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll go back to like your first point that you made because last time we were, kind of throwing out our ideas as to if we think this is the last season. And last time I was like, yes, I think it is. But after that, I just read some interviews that just kind of made it like a little bit hinted that there will be a season 5, even though it hasn't been confirmed. Penn Badgley said some things that just kind of made it seem like there will be another season. So like we may see another one. Who knows? He's contracted for 6 years, so we could even have theoretically a season 6. I don't think he might come out alive. I think that would be like a good ending to just be like, okay, like this is the end of Joe.
I think at some point or another, be it this season, season 5, season 6, I think that would be just an appropriate way to wrap the series. Is that he either got bested or he just let it happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like someone takes him out or he ends his own life.
Yeah.
Because he realizes,
he's
the kind of person
get tired too at some point.
Yeah.
Just be like, okay, like this is way too much. Like I can't keep on killing people and getting away with it and hiding it and trying to fall in love, right? And like still trying to make a living. Like this is a little intense. But yes, also I loved that they showed love in the teaser. Like I would love for her to come back. I had another theory that I shared with Frank offline, but that one would have only worked if this was the last season. So I had to like backtrack on that theory.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I'm for Love coming back. I mean, she had 2 seasons. Beck only had 1. I mean, she was flashbacking or not flashbacking, but like appeared in his mind in season 2, but like she didn't have 2 dedicated seasons as a character like Love did. I personally don't want her to come back. Not that I didn't love Victoria's being Love. I thought she was fantastic. I thought the chemistry between her and Penn was phenomenal. I just feel like that story has been said and done.
Yeah.
And it's over. It'd be crazy for her to come back when she was injected with Wolfsbane. Yeah. And how do you survive that fire when you're virtually paralyzed, right? So I don't see how that's possible.
Could be maybe his imagination, a dream.
Could be.
Who knows?
Could be. But you have to love. Yes.
Oh.
We got a comment here from Luis. With people believing Reese in Joe's head at the last episode, job then would be then would have had to lock himself up and start a fire to kill himself in the basement. Ah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wasn't really for that theory that Reese was like a figment of his imagination or like an alternate person.
Right.
Because yeah, like to possibly just set the room on fire with you in it. It's like, why? Unless it's because he doesn't want to do this anymore. He doesn't
I
want
want
to
to challenge myself. Let me see if I can Houdini my way out of this shit. I don't know.
It's a new TikTok challenge. Oh God.
Right? Please don't do this at home.
Don't do that, people. Don't do that ever.
Or to anybody else. Like, do not
please
chain people up in dungeons, set dungeons on fire.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Marcy, final thoughts on these last 2 episodes.
Like I said, these were fun. I loved the whole Knives Out-ish type of murder mystery aspect. Very pumped to see where the rest of this season goes. I will definitely be watching on Thursday. I've got to work that day, but I will probably, the good thing about working remotely is that I can watch it while I'm doing my little thing on the computer. So definitely very excited.
Yes, same here. I will be binging probably all 5 episodes whenever they release. That might be very early in the morning, and I'm going to regret it. But I'm going to suffer, but I'm going to be happy about it. Yeah. If y'all understand that reference and that line, leave a comment down below about where what that line came from, or what movie that line came from. So yeah, just saying. So that will wrap up Season 4, Part 1. Thank you, everyone who has joined us on this journey. Those who have been in the chat, Luis, Christian of McDorks, and I think that's everyone who... Oh, Nick and Claire from Walking with the Woods, all the way in the UK. Appreciate y'all being here as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. At time of recording, we are at 228 subscribers. We have gained 3 more subscribers since our Harry Potter pod. That's awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Shout out to Louise too. She knew that line came from Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Shout out to you. That's right. We appreciate you being here. Subscribe, hit that like button for this video. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Lastly, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Search at Watchers Basement. Use the hashtag Watchers Basement to help grow our audience. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, anyone that you know about us. We'd really appreciate their support as well. You can also check out our audio podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify, so you can listen while you're at work, at the gym, doing house chores, on the run, whatever. Give us a 5-star rating. We'd really appreciate it. So for Marcy, I'm Brittany. Thank you so much for joining us for our podcast. We will see y'all next week as we return Monday to discuss the latest episode from The Last of Us. Oh my God. And from what I'm hearing, it's going to be a banger. So
more intensity.
Exactly. Join us Monday for The Last of Us and for more pods coming to you very soon. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.